Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Castlekeeper Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I am going to be posing either a question or you can take this as a statement because I am going to make this argument over the next couple of videos. Why should you run and play Castles and Crusades in 2024 and beyond? So this is something that I was inspired to actually do this video last night when I was looking through one of my supplements for Castles and Crusades, and I suddenly realized that many of the things that Troll Lord Games has been doing with Castles and Crusades since 2004 were so forward looking that some games publishers today will argue that they are doing something that hasn't been done before, and yet there was Troll Lord Games doing that very thing since 2004. And I every time that I take a deeper look at Castles and Crusades, I keep on finding these instances why, I realize and I understand why they haven't had to use additions in Castles and Crusades since 2004. They've just done new print runs, and the new print runs aren't just getting the new books out there. The new print runs were, certainly modifying the layouts and adding more art to them, um, maybe tweaking some, some optional rules here and there, but the core of Castles and Crusades, the siege engine that Castles and Crusades utilizes, has been unchanged since 2004, and the reason being is that the system is really evergreen, and if you're not aware of what that title or that term actually means, it means that you just need to buy it once and you can play it forever. And the game system itself, the core game system, there is no need to change it because it is so adaptable to whatever you're looking to bring it to. And the siege engine has been brought out of out of the fantasy tabletop role playing genre and into a more generic adventure type genre as well. But for the most part, Troll Lord Games has been focusing on the fantasy role playing genre, and they're doing phenomenally well with it. And whereas some people might categorize Castles and Crusades as being an old school Renaissance or an old school role playing game system, others might call it an independent game system because it is so dramatically different than the core rules of Dungeons and Dragons that it really does fall along the lines of being independent. I'm more on the grounds of saying that it's a game system that is a hybrid of those as well as a modern game system because so many game publishers that that consider themselves to be modern game publishers, moving forward, have borrowed from Castles and Crusades. All right, and that's not just me saying it. That is, Michael Merles had stated that some of the things that he used in writing fifth edition, some of the ideas, some of the core concepts came out of Castles and Crusades, came out of many different earlier 2000, circa 2000, role playing games that at the time. And you're going to see that if you start looking at Castles and Crusades. You're going to see that there are both circumstances where Troll Lord Games is giving a shout backwards, a praise to the past, and praising them for the game design, the feel for role playing, and just the artistry of it in some cases, and meanwhile at the same time saying that this is a game system that you can play, not just today, but today, tomorrow, and beyond. All right, which is why I entitled this, why you should be running or playing Castles and Crusades in 2024, which is just around the corner, and beyond, because it is a game system that will carry you and beyond. The and beyond is another really important thing I want to point out, and that is, looking at the trends that have been taking place in 2023. 2023 was a super important year for our hobby, and in some cases it was like the OGL crisis. It was problems that became very apparent during 2023, but there was also a lot of really positive things that came out of 2023, and in particular I'm looking at 2023 for Troll Lord Games as being, just an incredible year for them. The number of canon hardbacks that they produced, the number of other projects or products that they have available on their website, directly on their website, the various homages that they presented us with to the past, and to those early creators of the hobby itself, and then just the connections that they're making moving forward, and I will get into more detail with those as well, has just been amazing. I mean, 2023 has been an amazing year for Castles and Crusades, and Troll Lord Games in general. I think 2024 is going to be an even bigger year for them, and I'm certainly looking forward to 2024 being a huge year for me with Castles and Crusades and other products from Troll Lord Games, because today is the day that I will be launching my new campaign, for Castles and Crusades in a new setting that I'm going to talk about. That they just secured the rights to publish. They are extremely, extremely well, with their sales on it, and it's opened the door for even more. And again, I'll get into details with that next. And so I'm going to leave that initial part there. I'm going to start looking at what specifically I'm going to be talking about in this episode, episode 1. We're going to focus on the Castle Keeper, who is the game master of Castles and Crusades. So without further ado, let me shift views here. I'm going to go to a full screen so you can see what I'm going to be talking about in a little bit more detail. So there are several ways that you can access Castles and Crusades. You can decide that I'm going to get a starter box, and I'm going to play this at my local gaming store, and I want a very basic game, or I'm going to take this starter box and I'm going to go to a convention, and I want to run this at a convention. So this is a starter box. It's about $50, and it's a fully contained game within one small box set here. It is an homage to the OD&D white box, and right down to the types of books that they have in here, right? So the first book is Men and Magic. All right, same as OD&D. Then you have Eldritch Enchantments, which was actually a supplement there, but this is your book of magic. This is your adventures in the wilderness and underworld. So this is going to give you all of the rules that you need for overland travel and adventuring in the wilderness, adventuring in dungeons and such, and then monsters and treasures. This also comes with the reference pages for the Castle Keeper and a beginning adventure, so a nice introductory adventure, a set of dice, a some character sheets that you can obviously copy. I'm having a hard time getting the character sheets out. Your character sheets, a standard set of 7 die, and a pencil. So a small pencil for like a golf pencil. So anyway, this is if you want to just see what the basic game is about and everything that you need to run it, everything that you need to play it. So all in one little bundle. Now, there's an advanced game of this where you get into the hardcover books. Now, I'm talking about Castle Keeper for this video. However, the first book I'm going to show you is required for players as well. So I'm going to revisit this when I do the video series on, on why you should be playing this game as a player. So the Player's Handbook, both players and the Castle Keeper need this book. And the really great thing that I love about this book is the fact that it is about 230 some odd pages long. It has everything players need to know, and as far as their characters and their capabilities and their character class, character race, and their capabilities. It also gives you the basics for the rule system. So you will know how the Siege rule system works, and that's why this is a requirement, the only requirement for players to run this game and to fully understand this game. And then this, along with Monsters and Treasures book, is what a Castle Keeper is required to have. So if you have both of these books, you can be a Castle Keeper in this. These are the only 2 books that you need. You can also notice that both of these books have homage covers to them, right? So this is a throwback to the original AD&D first edition covers. And so that's another thing that Troll Lord Games wanted to do, was to give an homage to those original covers of AD&D first edition. So the Monsters and Treasures gives the Castle Keeper everything they need to know about the hundreds of different creatures and monsters and such that are in here, as well as every type of treasure type, and there's qualities of treasures and a variety of different gemstones and jewelry and such. It goes into so much detail that it is truly a necessary item for you to be able to run Castles and Crusades. Now I'm going to start getting to the books and materials that you may not need them, but they are certainly nice to haves, right? And so the next one, and once again another homage cover. This is your Efreet and the Castle Keeper's Guide, and this is going to give you access to different rule options and such, plus great sections on how to create an adventure, how to create a campaign world, how to do these various things. It is just jam-packed with so many different features and insights, much more detail on the Siege engine itself, which is the core rules, and just enough additional information if you really want to carry it to the next level. So again, not required. You can get away with running this game system with just the player's handbook and the monster manual, monsters and treasures. Castle Keeper's Guide is certainly a plus to have, and I personally am glad that I got it. The Castle Keeper's Shield. All right, and I found that this is extremely useful as well. Do you absolutely need it? No, but it is certainly useful. It gives you all of the information that you could possibly need to actually even throw an adventure together just from the details that you have on here. It has sections on meals and lodging and random names, so you have all of what you might need if the player characters are in a town. It has a combat panel that gives you the various combat modifiers and situational maneuvers and surprise circumstances, the impact of negative HP, cover and ranged combat is included. It has a panel on adventure, so it tells you about the time, lighting and distances, so light and distance, so the source, clear up to a certain amount, ambient light up to a certain amount. I really love that aspect of it because it allows you to kind of describe it in much more detail when the players are seeing like a dim light in the distance and it's a candle. Then you know that that distance that they can barely make out the candle is about 15 feet according to this. It has a saving throw section, and then it goes into movement and weather. And so you have random tables for generating weather, and you also have various effects on movement rate and such. So again, really prevents you from having to flip through many different pages throughout, the player's handbook or the Castle Keeper's Guide. So far still, we're getting into the areas where these are nice to have extras. Another thing that I found that is very, very useful, especially in my prep for creating a campaign world and having my players start off in a new location that has a lot more life to it and everything, is the NPC Almanac and the NPC Register. So the register gives you all of the stats of these NPCs, and there are literally hundreds of different NPCs, all different kinds of categories. And then the sketches, so the NPC Almanac sketches gives you descriptions of those characters as well. More so personality and motivation descriptions rather than their physical descriptions. That way you can mix and match them if you wish to, going between the register. You can take a character from the register, which is going to give you all of their stats, including their race, their gender, they're almost all there is a section on NPC, like adventure party kind of characters, but most are NPCs that you'll find in a typical town or city and such. So those very, very useful, not required. Gods and Legends gives you a nice generic overview of various types of pantheons and deities for use with Castles and Crusades. It covers many different, many different aspects, whether it be cultural deities and such, plus demi-humans and fantasy deities as well. So you get the full scope there, but there's much more detail in the various codex books, which I will go over as well. Also for the Castle Keeper, we have setting books, right? So this is the Codex of Erd, and Erd is the official setting of Castles and Crusades. There's monsters and treasures specific to Erd, and Then there is a player's guide, which I will talk about when I get to the player's video, when I'm talking about just if you're looking to play Castles and Crusades. But that is the official setting. So Aired is the official setting of Castles and Crusades. I, on the other hand, will be using one of their newest releases, and that is Castle Zadig, the Igsburg campaign setting by Gary Gygax. So this was just recently republished with permission by, exclusively through the Gygax estate. And so based on the sales of this, it led to a new Kickstarter that that Troll Lord Games successfully launched. And so, and I will go into a little bit more detail. Like I said, there's a lot of this that is going to be for 2024 and beyond, because Troll Lord Games is not going to stop producing more and more material for Castles and Crusades, and more things that are going to come out of their recent Kickstarters, which I will be moving to in just a moment. And then there are various codex books. These are so this is the Celtic, and so you get all kinds of Celtic lore in this, including deities and creatures and character class subclasses that you can utilize. And so this allows you to flavor your particular setting in a way that you're looking to. So you could run, I'm going to run a Celtic campaign, and you run an entire campaign built around that particular codex. This is Classicum, which is basically Greek and Roman. You can run a Egyptian focused campaign, and so you're going to have everything that would be found in that kind of a setting. We have Germania. We have Nordica. All right. So that's your Vikings and your Odinist gods and that type of thing. And then Slavic. Very, very interesting. So there is a whole section on being able to run a Slavic campaign, base campaign. And then I have the Tomb of the Unclean. If you're ever looking to run a campaign in the in the Abyss and the Nine Hells, then here's your go-to. That's almost like the Book of the Plains. So I mentioned going forward. So I'm going to switch views here now and talk about some of the things that they have kickstarted and move forward from there. So 2023, once again, a huge year for them. So here are the books of 2023. And it's going to start here. So Castles and Crusades Codex Sinarum, which is their Chinese mythos book. So this is the 7th book in the Codex series. Waiting to get a hold of this once it's available. Moving on, they have the Aired fantasy setting of After Winter Dark is a variant of their Aired setting, and so this is going to come with its own monsters and treasure, its own its own trail guide to Aired, and then the Codex of Aired, and features around After Winter Dark. Castles and Crusades Adventurer's Armory. All right, so this is going to give you new suits of armor and new arms from all over the world. So it's an encyclopedia of weaponry and armory, shields and helms and such. It is going to have a section that is on war mounts, so really, really looking forward to that as well. Actually, I can give you a preview of this. So I backed this project, and let's see this campaign. So this campaign is going to give us, let's see, all three books here. So we're going to have the armory, the monstrous armory, which means weapons and armor that monsters wear, and then the war mount. So three different hardcovers in this for $100. So you really can't go wrong with getting this, and in both print and PDF for $100, and it was a very, very successful campaign for them. Let's hopefully I can just skip it, and I can't go back. They had some others there. Unfortunately, the back didn't work the same way. But this was their most recent finished, completed campaign that they ran. So the Worlds of Gary Gygax, and I've done several videos on this, but there was really some news that came in just the last 24 to 36 hours before this closed out, and there was a tier $90,000 stretch goal added to that, and that was producing Gary Gygax's The Hermit, which is an adventure series, all right, in hardback, in slipcase, with a map, with all of its extras that come along with it, and not only written for Castles and Crusades, but also written for Shadow Dark. And so we have the first bringing together of Troll Lord Games and Arcane Library, the creator of Shadow Dark, so Kelsey Dion and the Chenault brothers, coming together for the first time over a product heavily sponsored and pushed for by Luke Gygax and the Gygax estate. Gary Gygax's work being republished for both Castles and Crusades, originally, so in its original form for Legendary Adventures by Gary Gygax. That was his game system after TSR, and now also through Shadow Dark. And so you're going to get all three if this is what you backed at, and I'm super excited that I did, and just looking forward to actually getting this in my hand. So really, really excited. 2024 is going to be a huge year for Troll Lord Games, because this is going to open the door for even more coming out from Troll Lord Games, from the Gygax estate, and I'm hoping that it is going to open the door for more collaborations between Troll Lord Games and some other up and coming and super popular publishers as well. So I am going to switch views back here. Sorry about the black screen there. So you can see this is this is really some exciting stuff. Really looking forward to it. Again, castle keepers, those individuals who are looking to just get in on the ground floor for this, you only need two books. You need the Monsters and Treasure, and you need the Player's Handbook, and you're ready to go. For roughly the same price of those two books, you can also get the travel-sized white box, and you're ready to run right from there as well. Your players will be set up, you'll be set up, and you can begin running right from that box set as well. So, and then if you want to go all out and buy, as much stuff, and there's still more that I haven't even touched upon because I only have it in PDF at this time, but I do have like 5 or 6 hardback books coming over the next let's say, hopefully 6 months or so, that 2024 is going to be a huge year for me as a castle keeper, for me as a player, because I also play in a Friday night game of Castles and Crusades, and I'm just really, really stoked about all this stuff. So this is the first video in the series. You just got the overview of the Castle Keepers, focus on why you should be running Castles and Crusades in 2024 and beyond. The next video in this series, I will focus on players, and then the final video in this series, I'll be talking about in general some of the the truly innovative things that Troll Lord Games did back in 2004 that they're still pushing forward with now, and how some other publishers out there are actually just now catching up to some of the trailblazing that Troll Lord Games had done back in 2004, sorry, and and them moving forward is just going to be something that I think is really, really good for the hobby. I hope that more people will start to notice this company and notice the fact that they focus on just producing really good gaming content. They have no other focus but just making quality games, and that's something that I think we should all support. Is companies that are just laser focused on, we want to make good stuff that you will enjoy playing and enjoy running, and they're not abandoning, the true tabletop experience. They're not abandoning making books, and they're not abandoning the concept of playing in person or playing at conventions and such. So they're not looking to turn it into a video game, and I'll leave it at that. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please consider to like and subscribe, and to comment and to share. And I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon, or at a convention in the not so distant future. Maybe I'll see you at the Philadelphia Game Expo in January 5th, 6th, and 7th. I will be there, and then later on in the new year, in April, I will be at Rising Phoenix Con running games. So Philadelphia, I'm just going to be playing, and then in Massachusetts in April, I will be running at least 5 sessions, possibly 6. So you all have a great rest of your week, and as always, thanks for joining. Have a great day.